Hey folks, welcome back to another video. You join me at Lion Rock. Not my usual spot of Lion Rock, but this bit's called Spotty Walls. It's all part of the same crag though, really. Bit quieter here. Lovely afternoon. I've been down the wall this morning. I was actually throwing it down, hailing. It's disgusting now, but it's brightened up lovely now, so I thought I'd snatch the chance to do a video. I did wander up to my usual spot, but there was other people there. Lovely day, as I say. The boy, as always, he's just sitting there really. Oi. That's what he does most of the time. He just sits there. You think he'd be running around sniffing and stuff, and he does do a little bit, but then he just comes and sits down and waits very patiently for me. Today's video is going to take place over there in just a second. If you think back to the last video, if you caught it, it was, what was it? It was on direct belaying, and then inevitably touched on a bit of guide mode stuff as well. And someone rightly commented on that to use guide mode, you've got to be able to know how to lower. I've done other videos on this, but I thought I'd do one, perhaps an updated one, of my preferred method of lowering with a guide plate in 2021. I reserve the right to change what's my favourite method. I'm not really a fan of saying like it's the best method, because there's loads of ways of doing it, well, a good few at least. And as long as it's safe and it's efficient and it works for you, then, you know, who am I to say that mine's better or, you know, yours is better, whatever, you know, just a personal choice. But this is my preferred method, so you'll join me in a second on the wall with my harness on, dangling the rucksack over the edge to simulate a stuck climber or whatever, and we'll go through this particular one. Normal type of setup then, 2 bits of gear linked with a sling. I'm into the master point with a clovitch, and my guide plate setup is on the shelf. Obviously there's options there, we talk about these things loads, but it just keeps it nice and clear and hopefully a bit more straightforward for the video. My mate is climbing up. If they need a little bit of slack, just kind of quick slack to unclip a bit of gear that's hard to do under tension, or they just need to go down like a metre or something like that, then the easiest thing to do is just to pump this back carabiner back and forth, and slowly but surely some rope goes through the belay device. You're not going to go far with that though, okay? So it would take you forever to go like 25 metres or something, which is kind of what I'm talking about in this video. So to do that, what I've previously shown most of the time as my preferred method is the kind of the redirecting the rope and leaning back to pull the belay device open. But actually what I've kind of gone into a different method, which I've used for years and shown for years, but it's probably become my preferred method because I just think it's kind of a bit more sort of, it's just nicer to use really, and if anything I think it's actually more simple in the process really, rather than redirecting, which is all a bit odd. Potentially easy to do when you've practiced, but I think this is nicer. First off then, before we do anything else, checking I'm pulling the right bit of rope, is I'm just going to do a catastrophe knot, which is just a big overhand in the rope. I've left a bit of a gap between the device and the knot on purpose, because I'm going to use this in a minute. Worst case now though, if that slipped for whatever reason, that would just go into there. So they'd go a little bit of a distance, but let's be honest, not very far. Chances of that slipping, pretty minimal as well. First off, Prusik. Okay, this is very similar to lots of the escaping the system kind of videos that I've done previously as well. That's why I kind of like it, because it's a bit more sort of common element to other things that we do in climbing. I'm doing myself a French Prusik here because I want it to release under load. So I'll give that a few wraps. You might find you need less wraps when you're doing it for real with an actual human being dangling off the end, which if you do that, make sure they're on a safety line and things like that if you feel it's appropriate, but just stay like double safe. I'm going to get a carabiner into there. I'm using a screw gate. I'm glancing down at my harness and I'm realising that I've got a regular amount of screw gates. On these videos I don't suddenly bring loads of screw gates just for the sake of it. I like to keep them a bit more realistic. Chances are I've probably used a snap gate up there and stuff like that, for example, so I do tend to bring my sort of work rack rather than my play rack. But Prusik on there, it's locking, okay? You may as well check it now that it's locking. Careful if you let go of it, because sometimes when the rope is at an angle it just sort of disappears off down the rope, never to be seen again. But just for this example of keeping things clear, I'm going to leave it there for now and it shouldn't go anywhere. When I turned up at the crag I realised I only had one 120cm sling. and I was a bit annoyed at myself, and I thought I might nip home to get another one because I only just live up the road there. But I thought, let's keep it realistic, you know, because you might only have one sling left. You might have put the others, you know, over spikes or used them on the last belay or whatever. So I've got a couple of options. I've got another Prusik, and my Prusik cords are rated ones, so I could use those, but actually I'm going to go for this sling instead. It's the big 240 centimeter one, which is a bit too long for this, so I'm just going to double it, then double it again. I'm going to clip that into the carabiner. I said I might use snap gates and stuff here if appropriate, but it is a screw gate, so I may as well do it up. And I'm going to put this sling up into the shelf. Now I've only got one screw gate left, and I really do need a screw gate for the next job. If I've got any doubt in my mind about that being enough, then I'll double it up. Like I've said, I do have one of those left. I'm going to snug that sling up onto the Prusik and tighten the Prusik as much as possible. Just makes life easier in a second. The aim of this is to get rid of that belay plate, but I don't want to be relying just on a Prusik. I don't like that idea, so I can't get rid of that yet. So I'm going to get my one lonely big HMS left. I could clip this into any strong point, be it the shelf, be it the master point, but actually I think that this is going to be neater because it gets extended away by going metal on metal. So I've actually put it into there now. Because I've got a bit of slack here, it makes my life a bit easier for putting this Italian hitch in. There's other ways to do that, of course. You can go the other side of the knot, but it works well for me this way. Italian hitch in, bit of slack between those two, bit of gap between the knot there as well. Right, what's next is I need that Prusik to do basically all the work, although it will still be backed up by both that tied off and the Italian hitch tied off. That's not really backing up the Italian hitch because it could just get sucked through, but this is still doing something. But at this point I'm going to grab down here and I'm just going to pump through some rope, checking that Prusik is locking. I've only got a rucksack on it, so it's not the end of the world, but when your mate's on it, you're double sure that's locking and everything. Pump, 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 pump. This then goes a bit slack, that goes a bit slack as well. And the sling takes all the weight. So the weight is now going from Prusik to sling to shelf. This is loose. So what I can do now, covering that dead rope beneath the Italian hitch here, is I can take out my belay device. Pop it through. I'm going to leave it dangling there because it's kind of a bit trapped there, but that's fine. It can just sit there, can't it? Prusik's doing the job. You can see that by this being loose, but if the Prusik was to fail, the Italian hitch is there into the master point carabiner. So what I can do in a second, I'm going to lower, right? So I can just tighten all this up first off, get it snug, so I don't want any sort of excess slippage really. We're going to want to do it under control, don't we? So I can tighten that up. What is going to happen when I start to lower is the Italian hitch flips through, so I might as well pre-flip it through and tighten it up that way. Get that snug there. What can I do now? Well, I can get rid of the Prusik. So we've done a French that's releasable under load. This is why we pull really hard sometimes because it grips really well, but pull really hard on that. It goes all loose. I'm now on the Italian hitch. Just for the sake of it now, let's clear this up as much as possible. You'd want to get this Prusik off anyway, otherwise it would just be a faff of trying to sort of one hand lower, one hand sort the Prusik. We don't want that. We want both hands doing the lowering in a second. Let's flick that off. I won't bother doing anything with it now, just clip it out of the way. I could get that out of the way as well, couldn't I, if I really wanted to? And just for the sake of the video, why not do that? He says why not do that, but actually it'll be in the way a little bit unless I do a bit of fiddling. Bear with me a moment, there we go. And it's out. So what we're left with is my safety point, which will obviously be a lot tighter and stuff. And now we're onto the Italian hitch. So for lowering, great, both hands on the braking strand. Do that. Obviously it's a rucksack, so it's not exactly flying through, but you get the idea. Down it goes. Remember that catastrophe knot though before it gets jammed up into here, so at some point get that out. If it touches that, it's going to be a lot harder to undo, so get it clear as soon as possible. Lower away, job's a good one. Now I prefer this method, as I've said, my 2021 method of choice. It's got more in common with other methods of problem solving, escaping the system and that. I don't have to be sort of pulling back to redirect the rope and opening up the guide plate and the guide plate being in between me and an Italian hitch or a Prusik as a backup. It just becomes all really super simple, doesn't it? And you just go into a very simple, easy way of lowering someone like that. I haven't got to be pulling it. It's just, I just chilled now. lower, lower, lower. They get to the floor, jobs are good, and I abseil down, lower down, whatever's appropriate, you know. So there we go. Just to save my rucksack going to the bottom of the crag, I'm going to tie that off very quickly. Do fire away with questions. As always, you know, I'm happy to answer as best I can. Let me know what you think. Is that a good method? Do you prefer the other method? I'm not really into saying what's the best way, the gold standard way. I like to just do something that is definitely safe, definitely efficient, right? And, you know, that works well for you. So if you prefer the redirecting method, great, stick with it. But it's worth having a try with this and seeing if you're keen. I like it. It's my method of choice, like I say. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. You might have noticed my new outside sweatshirt with a nice logo on the back, which you haven't seen yet. You can get these from outside, of course. Go and look them up. You can also, you know, click that like button for us, smash the subscribe button for us, find us on Insta, find us on Facebook, use the Buy Me a Coffee link, buy the Sling Mountain t-shirts. They're linked below. There's a new design as well. All the support has just been phenomenal. I'm amazed. I get recognised in the Co-op, in Morrison's, at the Climb Wall, all sorts now. It's a crazy new world. It's mind-blowing, really. Do fire away those questions though, and also do fire away if you've got any suggestions for videos. I've still got lots I want to do, but suggestions are always welcome, so do chuck them in the comments below as well. Much appreciated. As always, thanks very much for watching. More videos coming up very soon.